What's up, my dear teachers, and welcome back to my channel. On October 5 would be the World Teachers' Day celebration, and with that, the Department of Education is now issuing guidelines on the grant of an incentive that will be rewarded to all teachers in the Department of Education. So for today's video, we will be talking about the guidelines on the grant of the 1,000 peso World Teachers' Day incentive. Please watch the full video for you to know who will qualify in the said incentive. Without further ado, let's go.
Republic of the Philippines Department of Education DepEd Order Number 29 Series of 2020 entitled The Guidelines on the Grant of World Teachers' Day Incentive Benefit, dated September 23, 2020. Addressed to Undersecretaries, Assistant Secretaries, Bureau and Service Directors, Regional Directors, Schools Division Superintendents, Public Elementary and Secondary School Heads, and all others concerned. The Department of Education issues the enclosed guidelines on the grant of World Teachers' Day Incentive Benefit pursuant to DepEd Special Provision Number 12 under Republic Act Number 11645, the General Appropriations Act of Fiscal Year 2020, titled An Act Appropriating Funds for the Operation of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2020, and for other purposes. The procedures, standards, and mechanisms stipulated in this policy shall guide all DepEd offices and personnel in the grant of World Teachers' Day Incentive Benefit to public school teachers for fiscal year 2020 and years thereafter, contingent to the funding appropriations as may be authorized by the annual GAA. The Department may issue supplemental guidelines to further implement this order in the succeeding years as may be authorized by the annual appropriations, other laws, or national policies. For more information, please contact the following: A for eligibility concerns and B for financial procedures. This DepEd order shall take effect immediately after registration with the Office of the National Administrative Register at the University of the Philippines Law Center, UP Diliman, Quezon City. Immediate dissemination of and strict compliance with this order are directed. Signed, Leonor Magtoles Briones, Secretary. Inclosure to DepEd Order Number 29 Series of 2020 Guidelines on the Grant of World Teachers' Day Incentive Benefit. Number 1. Rationale. Pursuant to RA number 10743 or an act declaring the 5th day of October of every year as the National Teachers' Day and UNESCO's International Observance of World Teachers' Day, the 5th of October every year is celebrated to honor those who are in the teaching profession and to acknowledge the unwavering service and valuable contributions of the teachers in nurturing the minds, values, and character of the Filipino youth and the generations around the globe. In recognition of the vital role the teachers play in nation building, the Department of Education commits to faithfully find ways to reward teachers for their hard work and dedication to the teaching profession by granting the World Teachers' Day Incentive Benefit to public school teachers. This year, the crucial role of teachers in ensuring the continued delivery of learning has become even more apparent as the country faces a daunting fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. It is the mandate of the department to ensure that as teachers stand in the front lines of the basic education learning continuity agenda, they remain empowered, honored, and incentivized amid emergency situations. In fiscal year 2020, the DepEd Special Provision Number 12 under the RA Number 11645, the GAA of fiscal year 2020, or an act appropriating funds for the operation of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2020, and for other purposes, provides for the grant of World Teachers' Day Incentive Benefit during the annual World Teachers' Day celebration in the amount of 1,000 pesos per teacher, subject to the guidelines issued by the DepEd. To ensure the effective implementation of the aforementioned special provision, this policy is hereby issued to provide the implementing guidelines which define the purpose, coverage, eligibility criteria, and procedures on the grant of WTDIB. In succeeding years, the release and/or amount of the WTDIB shall be contingent on the availability of funding appropriations as may be authorized by the annual GAA. The parameters and guidelines stipulated in this order shall apply. Scope of the policy. The WTDIB shall be granted all public school teachers with permanent and provisional appointment in all public elementary, junior and senior high schools and community learning centers who are in service in DepEd on or before October 5 of the current school year. It shall be released to all eligible teachers in fiscal year 2020 and the years thereafter, subject to the availability of funding appropriations as may be authorized by the annual GAA. Definition of terms. For the purpose of this order, the following terms shall be defined as follow. A. Public school teachers are defined in RA number 4670, otherwise known as Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, as all persons engaged in classroom teaching in any level of instruction on full-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, industrial arts or vocational instructors, and all other persons performing supervisory and/or administrative functions in all schools, colleges, and universities operated by the government or its political subdivisions, but this shall not include school nurses, school physicians, school dentists, and other school employees. B. Provisional refers to an appointment issued to an appointee who meets all the requirements of the position except the eligibility, but only in the absence of a qualified eligible actually available who is willing to accept the appointment, as certified by the school's division superintendent pursuant to CSC Memorandum Circular Number 14 Series of 2018 or the 2017 Omnibus Rules on Appointment and Other Human Resource Actions Revised 2018. Policy Statement. It is the policy of the department to recognize the unwavering service and vital role of the teachers in nurturing the Filipino youth and in nation building. Through the grant of incentive benefit in celebration of the World Teachers' Day, this DepEd order is hereby issued to provide specific guidelines on the purpose, coverage, and eligibility criteria and the procedures on the grant of World Teachers' Day incentive benefit. Procedures. A. Exemptions. Public school teachers that fall under the following circumstances shall not be entitled to the grant of the World Teachers' Day incentive benefit. A. Those who are on absence without leave or AWOL as of October 5 of the current school year. B. Those who are found guilty of any offense in connection with their work and meted the penalty in the previous school year. C. Those who are no longer in service as of October 5 of the current school year. And D. Those who will be hired after October 5 of the current school year. Implementing guidelines. The amount of 1,000 pesos for WTDIB shall be given to each entitled public school teacher not earlier than October 5 of fiscal year 2020. In the succeeding years, the release and/or amount of WTD shall be contingent on the annual appropriations chargeable against the GAA. It shall be given to the eligible teacher not earlier than October 5 of the current year, subject to these guidelines and other supplemental guidelines as may be released by the Execom in charge of Finance. Upon receipt of the Special Allotment Release Order from the Department of Budget and Management, the Finance Services Budget Division of DepEd Central Office shall facilitate the release of funds to their respective DepEd regional offices through the issuance of sub-allotment release orders. The DepEd RO shall closely coordinate with their DBM RO counterparts for the issuance of notice of cash allocations to cover the cash requirement of the sub-ROs issued by the FS Budget Division, subject to the submission of special budget requests supported by a monthly disbursement program. The MDP shall reflect that the cash requirement falls due in October of every year. Inasmuch as the sub-ROs and the corresponding NCA shall be released to the DepEd RO proper, the disbursements of the cash allocation issued for the WTD shall be effected by the DepEd ROs concerned. This shall include the preparation of the payroll through the Regional Payroll Servicing Unit, The DepEd ROs, however, are not prevented from implementing measures or other payment schemes to ensure that the allowance would already be granted to the eligible teachers effective every October 5 of the year, subject to existing budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations. In case of deficiency in the allotment release for the payment of WTDIB, the DepEd ROs and implementing units may use or front-load available personal services allotments pursuant to Section 3.9 of DBM's National Budget Circular No. 578 dated January 6, 2020, subject to the accomplishment of advice for the use of personal services appropriations duly signed by the head of office, and such adjustments shall likewise be reflected in the Registry of Allotments, Obligation, and Disbursements for Personal Services. DepEd ROs shall submit the reports on payment of the WTDIB to the FS Budget Division based on the reporting schedule set by the latter office. FS Budget Division shall consolidate the reports on payment of WTDIB and furnish the Bureau of Human Resource and Organizational Development Employee Welfare Division for monitoring purposes. Monitoring and evaluation. All offices and accountable officials and personnel thereof shall comply with existing financial reporting guidelines on the use of funds for this purpose. Any related concerns of the offices not covered by the provisions of the policy shall be referred to the appropriate governance level. The BHRODAWD, Finance Service Budget and Accounting Divisions, Regional Administrative and Finance Division, and Finance Unit of Schools Division offices shall monitor compliance and evaluate the implementation of this DepEd order. This DepEd order is anchored in the following Republic Acts, DepEd orders, and other memorandum issued by the concerned agencies.